Hello and welcome to the Film Review Podcast. Today we're going to be talking about the movie Steve Jobs, starring Michael Fassbender
Mhm.
and Seth Rogen.
Don't forget about Kate Winslet.
She's in it
I
too.
know. Did
She's
she? We
fantastic.
forget about Kate Winslet.
I actually didn't know that she was in it.
Did you not?
No.
She's like the assistant one, Tim.
She's Joanna. She plays
Oh,
Joanna
yeah.
and like his
Yeah, I was
right-hand
wondering.
woman.
She looked familiar, but I don't. You know.
She looked very different in fairness.
Yeah,
Yeah,
she
she-
did.
Not Titanic or anything, like she looked very
Yeah.
No, definitely not.
Right, Kelly, what were your thoughts?
I thought it was actually brilliant, honestly. I seen the version, the one that Ashton Kutcher starred in, and I thought like this was a way better depiction, to be honest. Like it was like way more in depth and like showed, I don't know, like what a complex like human he was.
Yeah, no, he definitely like it went really in depth into how his mind worked and how he like what was going on through all the time, like of
Yeah.
him presenting the Mac and everything.
I feel like
Definitely.
it's in a simple way though, where it's like anyone could kind of understand it. Like even though it's such a like
Yeah,
film like that's just kind of talking and like dialogue driven, it still kind of captures your attention. It's still you can understand everything that's going on without it being like too complex or anything.
yeah.
Yeah.
That was pretty cool.
And
I
can we
love-
acknowledge how good Seth Rogen was?
Oh my god,
God.
he needs to be in more
good.
serious films. Like
really
I know he
does.
was in,
Actor.
yeah, he was in that one. Yeah, but it was Jesus crazy. I was almost about to say he was in Moneyball, but that wasn't him. That was Jonah Hill.
I always get
Yeah.
God.
I know.
I think the best moments of Steve Jobs is like, did anyone else get like pure anxious when he was like like 5 minutes away from giving a speech and there was like 5 people talking to him and like
Oh,
saying they
yeah.
needed to speak to him? And I was like, you need to start on time, like.
Yeah, and he's there every 30 seconds. He's like, can't be late, can't be late. You're like, don't be late.
He's like, can't be late, but let me just attack my ex-wife and ex-girlfriend and
daughter.
not daughter, like, yeah.
Represented men in America, like, yeah.
That scene when he told her that the Lisa wasn't named after her and that no one was named after anyone was so sad. It was
Oh
so
my God.
like, God, it was such a bad person.
Yeah, like I really
Like-
like it. Like halfway through watching the film, I was like, I love the film, but like I hate the main character. He's such an asshole.
He is horrible.
Yeah, he's horrible.
I was like, what the fuck? And then like when they kind of go in depth into like his whole adoption and like being given back and stuff. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
abandonment issues, then it's kind of like, oh, I suppose it makes sense, like, yeah, and it's you feel awful then, like, and it's it is
Yeah.
definitely like a very kind of emotional film as well, which you don't
Yeah.
It-
see, because like even in the trailer and everything, it looks like a pure just surgically shot and cut film and just about a bit kind of thing, and it's really not then, like, and it's just
The
script.
writing was insane.
Yeah.
Like Sorkin. Sorkin wrote it. Crazy writing.
Yeah, it was a fantastic script, like, and it just kept going,
Yeah.
going and going. And even like when they were going through like different passages of time and everything, it was almost like you didn't notice. Not that you didn't notice there was a passage of time, but it wasn't like, okay, where are we now? We're like 10 years later.
Yeah.
5 years later. It was so natural, like
Yeah.
to be in a different decade or whatever. I suppose that's down to the editing of it as well.
Yeah.
That
love-
scene where go on, sorry.
Sorry. I loved how they like the way they shot it. They didn't just do like a linear thing. They like went back and forth through timelines and then they referenced like the opening scene and the closing scene sort of thing. It was crazy.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, like that. Even when they were using say like you'd see stuff on the walls of the floor of like stuff they'd be talking about. Even like the NASA launch, where the wall was completely like a TV. So they're going in, they're creating like kind of telling the story kind of a bit more vividly with like shots and kind of hard to describe. It's like
It was the scene kind of near the end where he was talking to Joanna, and then they showed a projection of I can't remember what it was, some satellite or something they were shooting up, and it was kind of his metaphor, and it was projected behind them.
yeah.
Is that scene you're on about?
Yeah, literally, they had projectors going on and stuff. So it was really,
Yeah, that was really cool, I thought. Yeah, kind of telling 2 stories at once and like aligning them. It was,
Mm.
it's pretty cool.
I thought that scene where do you know where Lisa finds out about the article where he denies her?
Yeah,
Yes,
Oh, that was so sad.
crazy shit.
that was horrific. Yeah, like imagine finding out your father when you were first.
Yeah,
I was like, for sure, she could be 28% of America's child. Like,
28% of
That's so
America could
that's
be.
so bad the way he said that.
it's me. Like,
Yeah, so bad the way he said that. He literally published it and all. Like he didn't hold back.
yeah.
I went down a rabbit hole. Sorry, go on.
No, go on, go on.
I went down a rabbit hole because I was so like curious about like his actual birth parents. Did he know them and stuff like that? And I sent Adam a thing, and it was basically
Yeah.
like his dad was a Syrian refugee or something. Was he Syrian? I can't remember, but it was something like he has another sister called Mona, and they didn't meet until he was like 30 years old, and that's from his birth parents. His birth mother's family were like very conservative, so when she was pregnant with him, like her parents wouldn't allow her to marry her Steve's birth father. So
Yeah.
they separated for years, and then they came back together and had his sister. Like, it's actually mad. They didn't meet then until he was like 30 years old.
That's crazy.
Crazy.
Isn't his sister like gifted as fuck as well?
Yeah, his sister's like a really famous author.
Really?
Yeah.
That's mad. Yeah, no, I like the way though, like in the film, they didn't they didn't go too in depth with everything. It was just kind of like his own experience of it. It wasn't like about his sister or about his
Yeah, I like that as well.
into it, which it worked well. Like it was just kind of as if they were picking out the most important moments, and they picked out the best things to
Definitely.
put together to make like just kind of a 2-hour standard film.
Yeah.
Rather than like 3 hours and having like loads of bits and pieces just kind of strewn all over the place. They picked out like the most important parts and the parts.
Definitely.
Hmm.
Left me like invested. I want to know more. So like
Yeah.
they definitely did
Oh,
their
I
job.
wanted a series.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was crazy how like Steve Jobs' mind is like a presenter works, and he was like, this has to be a perfect cube. And like when he was picking out the right shark, and he went through like 29 sharks because he was like, we need to show them eating the PC and shit, you know, like it's so weird how he thought, like, and he was like, it like the computer at the start had to say hello because otherwise it would be scary. It's just weird. But like,
such a perfectionist.
you know, it worked. Yeah.
Things were like throwing him off, and it was just like, Jesus Christ, can you not just get on without it? And it's like, no, this is a character that can't get on.
Yeah.
Like, have you seen his presentation of the iPhone, like the first iPhone ever? Like, have you ever seen that on YouTube?
No, I don't think I have.
It was just like it's so perfect the way he did it. Like, he came up and he presented, like, he was like, we made a music player and we made a computer and we made a something else, and then he was like, and he kept repeating a music player, a computer, and whatever else the other thing was, like a navigation like map thing or something, or a communication device. And he said it like 3 times until the audience caught on that he was making that, but all in one. It was really cool the way he did it, the way he did it. And like Fassbender is such a good cast for Steve Jobs.
He was amazing.
Like in the end, he literally, I was like, that's Steve Jobs. You can't tell me otherwise. Like,
yeah,
you
literally.
know.
And like, I love Michael Fassbender, and like, he's kind of just brilliant at everything. But it was a bit. I'd never seen this film until Adam, you told me to. I think I saw like a piece of it when I was younger. I don't really remember it though. And I was a bit like, Michael Fassbender. I don't know, Steve Jobs. I feel like it's so random. No.
Yeah.
Perfect. Like.
Perfect.
Anyone could have done it better. Yeah.
Yeah. The voice, down to the voice as well, like.
Yeah.
That he did.
Like he's from Kerry, like.
Yeah.
I know,
yeah.
it's mad.
It's really, yeah.
Or Jimmy, like.
But no, yeah, he was perfect. Like it was just complete transformation. The way he was able to just be so cold, like, and everything was just
yeah.
fantastic. Yeah.
You kind of see like when you go in before you watch the film, you know, like he was kind of driven, kind of power crazy, and you just see how big his ego is. Like he's kind of mad. Like it's what he thinks is always kind of correct. Like it has to kind of go the way he wants it. And you kind of see throughout the film, he's got a huge ego just building up and up and up.
Yeah.
And every year it gets worse and worse. So even with the magazines, like you just see like how much he turned. Like he thought the magazine was like
the Time magazine
thing.
Oh yeah.
About himself, where it was nothing. It was just about the Mac, and it took a huge twist, and really like he kind of assumes stuff in his head before he gets all the facts and stuff, you know. It's just
Yeah.
kind of crazy.
He kind of had like his own version of reality the whole way through, and I thought that was brilliant when Joanne, Kate Winslet's character, kind of copped him out of it just by saying like a few words, and he was like, no, and she's like, no, I'm serious, like this is exactly what you've done. You completely have your own version of what happens, and it's actually not what happened at all. Like when she was like, you weren't even being considered for Man of the Year in Time magazine, and he just like couldn't believe it.
Ouch, like
in his head, like, thinking like, how dare they? And she was just like, no, didn't even happen. Like, you have
reality distortion or something, she said, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was funny.
That was how he lived his life kind of up until then, and then he kind of started to think outside himself and think about the daughter and think about what's going on around him. Yeah,
I feel like someone like that though, like that was as like power hungry, and had such a big ego, like need someone to like put them in their place, and like and I think he was surrounded by a lot of like not yes men, but people who were just scared of him. Like besides Joanna, who was like the only person, and even at times you could tell like her kind of, you know, she didn't always want to say what she definitely thought, but she did kind of put him in his place a few times, which he definitely needed.
Like Joanna, Scully, and Wozniak were the three that seemed to be the ones that would stand against Steve, you know, to tell him like what you're doing is just wrong. Like his final argument with Wozniak about the Apple II team again.
Oh my
God,
that
was a crazy argument. That was so good. Yeah. So good. Like the acting and everything, the writing, just phenomenal.
And there was like Joanna was kind of being like, lads, stop or whatever. And so the other one that was there, that she gave him the notes by an accident. I can't remember what her name was. And she was like the one they were trying to get to turn off the exit signs and stuff.
Oh,
yeah. So then we're kind
it's
of like,
the same as Andy.
Yeah, and the two of them were kind of like, stop. And then all the students were kind of looking around like, oh, jeez, what's going on here?
And
like,
the journalist was just there.
Like, oh my God, what's going on? Like, yeah.
It was the part when they were like talking about Lennon and Ringo. I was like, whoa, this is getting crazy. And then Steve was like, I always liked Ringo. And he was like, shut up.
Yeah. No, it was just madness, like from start to finish, but 100% like catches your attention. You understand everything that's going on, even though it's all kind of completely mad. It's still like something so complicated.
The argument between him and Scully when they were arguing about like he was about to present his next cube or whatever it was, and then it kept cutting back to when he got fired, and it kept cutting between those arguments was like really good. I thought that was like really crazy.
Yeah,
that is actually true, because that's such a, like when I was watching it I was like, Jesus, that didn't have to like divide my attention between the two. It was like two conversations going on at the same time, but
it was like they flowed.
Follow. Yeah, it was still easy enough to follow, and like you still understood what was going on, even though it was like jumping back and forth. It didn't feel like jumping, it just felt kind of like gliding in between the two conversations, absorbing them at the same time. It was kind of strange, like whereas like if it was done any other way, that would have just been impossible to keep up with. Like so perfectly done.
There was a part where, you know, during the argument between Steve and Wozniak, where Wozniak says something like, I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was basically like, oh, our products are improving and are becoming better and evolving, but at the expense of our character like becoming worse and you becoming a horrible human, basically. I think it gives like good insight of like the way like people around him felt at like the height of Apple when they really were becoming popular.
Yeah.
Sorry, I think I froze for a second. No, very good. Sorry, I thought we froze there for a second.
I was gonna say I have like mad respect for Wozniak now after watching that. Like I hadn't a clue what Steve Jobs was like before watching that properly. Like I was like, he must be a bit of, you know, he was in charge of Apple. Like it must have been a bit of a, you know, someone to go down hard on someone. But like Jesus, he was a lot worse. And then like Wozniak just standing to him, and then he was just like, you know, this is just wrong what you're doing. I was like, right too.
Yeah, like hearing about Steve Jobs, like when I was younger, I didn't know anything really about Steve Jobs or like Apple. Like I only really knew much about him kind of more so when he died or whatever. But I just always kind of assumed like, oh, sure, he's the creator of everything behind like the iPhone and everything, and that's just not through. And of course, like he had something to do that he was able to present everything, and he was, you know,
Yeah.
A, B, and C. But it was like Wozniak was the real kind of brains behind the products, and he was just shoved aside, and it was like, oh, it was heartbreaking. Like, yeah.
Everybody kind of noticed like the music in it as well. Kind of like I find at every kind of stage of it, there was different type of music. Now the last two stages were kind of instrumental, but like it was like you'd see more and more music come into it, going further towards the end. So it was like kind of find it started off slow, but kind of went further, kind of went faster. Like just the use of it, you wouldn't really notice too much of it at times. Like even like for the it's kind of like between the daughter and the mother and Steve himself, they were chatting away, and you'd find just they were trying to tell the story of like the daughter going around and himself chatting away to the wife, and you'd find the music coming in slowly, and then it just built up towards when they were arguing.
Yeah.
So the music was like a really good representation of like whenever tension was arising.
Yeah.
All the time. Yeah, it was scored really well.
Yeah, I found it really good now.
Yeah.
That last argument, like with him and his daughter at the roof, and they like, you know, he was like, "I want to read one of your essays," and it was like, it was when he was like, he told his assistant that he didn't mind he didn't care if he started late. I was like, that's a, you know, it's a clear change from earlier when he was like, we're a tech company, we can't start late.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, you could tell the growth in like his character, the way he like.
Yeah.
I felt like before he had so much resentment towards Lisa almost, and by the end, I think he felt regret.
Yeah.
By the way he behaved.
Definitely.
Do you remember the scene where he was saying, "My daughter's asking me all these weird questions, like, why is she asking me?
Oh yeah.
Why does she keep asking me stuff she knows?" And it's like, what's her name again?
Lisa, the daughter.
No, the
mother.
The assistant, the head of marketing.
Yes.
She goes, when children are nervous or they feel like their parent is uneased, they'll ask you questions that, like, you know, that you know, or try to bring you back to like a calmness, try to calm you, like, you know. So I found that, like, I just didn't know that at the time, and I was like, geez, that's something interesting as well. Like, he didn't have parents at all.
No, and it's so sorry for the child. It was like, this child understands you, like, and you just don't want to give it the time of day at all. Like, it was kind of
When the child hugged him, when Lisa hugged him and was like, "I want to live with you," I was like, "No way!" Like, that's so sad. And then he didn't do anything about it. I assume, I don't know, from the like,
I read it. I looked that up as well, lads. I was so invested. She moved in with him when 12 years old.
When she was 12? Oh, okay.
Yeah. Felt awful for the mother then, like, cause she obviously just couldn't cope, like, and it was like back at the start, he just seemed so unwilling to help her, and that's I think where we were all kind of like, Jesus, he's a bit of a dick, like, you know. And obviously we see the reasons behind it and everything. But I have to say as well, I thought Kate Winslet was brilliant.
Amazing. Yeah, so did I.
Even like her accent and everything, I just thought she was fantastic.
Yeah.
The fact that you, like, if you didn't really like know Kate Winslet well, you wouldn't have really recognized her that much. Like, says a lot to like how good her depiction was.
Yeah.
Definitely, It was. And even like I thought it was shot so well and everything. It was shot just
the scenes were so good.
Story like in a short space of time, like
the cinematography, like there was a scene, I think it was the introduction of Scully, where they were like behind the projector drinking wine or whatever it was, and it was like the projector was playing a video to the audience and we could watch that while seeing the scene. It was like really cool. I don't know.
It was and even like it was almost kind of like even the scenes where they were showing like information about Apple. Do you know, when it was just kind of people were talking and you wouldn't understand anything, like say like I wouldn't understand anything about stocks or whatever when it's saying that, when they had like the scenes of like, I think it was just like a 2-minute thing of like between the passage of time, and they were explaining like what was happening to Apple, all over.
Yeah.
Within,
And how like they had to drop jobs and shit.
yeah, and they
Yeah.
explained it so well in such a short space of time, so easily, like that it just came so naturally. Like it was so strange.
Hmm.
It was really cool though. Yeah, definitely.
What did you think of that scene where he gets he gets annoyed that her Harvard fees were paid when he had told her that he wouldn't pay them? I was like, why are you annoyed? You had told her you wouldn't pay them, like.
Yeah.
Multi-billionaire, like, and you don't want to send your daughter.
Tell
It was very confusing.
Yeah, you could just tell how stubborn his like character must have been.
Oh yeah. Yeah. He was a pure sociopath as well. Like the way he was talking. I think it was the scene before that, and he was talking, and he was like, "I don't care if people don't like me," wasn't it? It was It was something
Yeah.
like that. He said he didn't care if people didn't like him. I
Yeah,
was like, Jesus Christ.
yeah. Like he doesn't even care if like the people who worked with him didn't like him, or even like his relationship with like Jeff Daniels. Like we saw him kind of being like almost like a
Yeah.
father figure to him, and then he could just go so cold on him so easily. It was kind of like yeah.
Mm.
It was definitely done. Like the script and everything was done so well to show like how his relationship worked with everyone else.
I felt so sorry for him when Andy was like told him that he never liked him, and he was like,
yeah.
"It's a shame. I've always liked you." And it's like,
Yeah.
I felt sorry, but in the same time, I was like, if you've always liked him, you wouldn't have like threatened him early on in the movie when you were like, he was saying that he would expose why the computer wasn't working. He'd bring up Andy and be like, he's the reason the computer's not working.
Yeah.
You know, that was so scummy of him to say.
It was, like, fairness, yeah. And the fact that like he didn't even remember when Andy brought it up. He was
he was just like, oh, I guess I did, yeah.
And he remembered it so much all those years. It was like, that's all. Like, yeah.
Oh, he was a pure bully.
Yeah.
When I looked into it more, lads, I want to get Lisa's book. Like I thought it was crazy, but when I looked into it more, I was reading. I was watching an interview of her first of all, where she was talking about her book, and oh my God, lads, her mannerisms, like her charisma, is the exact same. But I never knew that he has 3 other children.
Yeah, I didn't know when you sent it out to me. I was like,
other kids as well, yeah.
Yeah,
he has 3 other children.
A boy and 2 girls. You might.
Let's say, yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, and then Lisa. Yeah, he has Lisa, which is his half. Yeah, he's
his half
sibling. Yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, it's pretty interesting.
And like, did he have those kids? Say like way after Lisa was born, the first child that we saw in the film. Is that?
Yeah, he married.
Okay.
His widow now. He actually met at like, I can't remember, some thing, Harvard thing or something like that. Yeah. And they married then and had 3 children. But I was reading there was like a thing where she was talking about on when she went to visit him when he had cancer, and he said to her, I owe you one. He kept just saying, I owe you one, I owe you one. And she had said that, like, it was actually very sad. Like, even when like they never really had a great relationship. She was saying that, like, when she went to Harvard, like, they didn't talk for 10 years because he wasn't invited to her first day at Harvard. So for 10 years they didn't speak because of that. Yeah. And yeah, and then obviously that, like, she missed out on like growing up with her siblings and stuff like that. And yeah, it was actually crazy, but she was talking in an interview about it, and it was actually just so interesting. Like, well, she even said, and I just thought this was so sad, that like when he was dying, she would go around and like steal stuff from his house, like small belonged to him, because she was like so afraid of like whether she was going to be left stuff, or isn't that crazy? Like,
Jesus. That is awful. Like, yeah,
that's traumatic.
Like that, thinking kind of that way, like,
yeah.
Jeez, that is madness.
Very interesting.
Yeah, it is mad. Like, even though like we didn't see, it was just kind of like a portion of his life. Like, we didn't see up to his death, or, you know, the kind of things that like say people our age I'd only really heard about him when he died when we were younger. And
Yeah,
then
yeah.
that kind of portion of his life without, you know, when he had cancer and everything, it was just so interesting. Like,
I mean, like,
Definitely.
he's clearly a bad person, but like, he's also the reason that we have most of our stuff today, technology wise.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah,
it's bittersweet.
it is. Yeah, like it's so strange. Like, it was strange to watch him be like, geez, I don't really like this fella.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And like, obviously, it's more so damaged than anything, like, which is horrific. But
it was gas when
Yeah.
he showed off the computer, and it was the new one that was like translucent in the back so you could see everything. And I was like, that looks so bad by today's standards. Like, it looks
Oh, yeah,
terrible.
definitely.
Like, I was looking at it and I was like,
cutting edge technology, like, it's just so funny.
yeah.
Like,
When he showed off the mouse and keyboard, I was like, that just looks like any mouse and keyboard. But like, clearly they didn't look like that back then. So it was like revolutionary.
yeah,
Yeah, that was gas to me.
it was, yeah, to see like they were like, this is it now, this is the product that's going to be like change everything. We're like, Jesus Christ. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
And then the Newton as well, when it was like, wow, we could turn writing to text, and it's like, yeah, my phone can do that now. It's just,
Insane.
you know,
they were like, type it out in your Newton or whatever, and it just turned into like a completely different sentence, and they threw it across.
the Simpsons thing. That was
Yeah.
gas.
Like, oh gosh, it was even in the Simpsons.
What do you think of the overall film, actually?
It reminded me a lot of The Social Network, the Mark Zuckerberg movie.
Oh,
if any of
yeah.
you have seen that, it was very like, it's also written by Sorkin, but it's very similar, like, just vibe to it. Yeah.
Like, it was kind of shot the same and everything like that. Like, yeah, and
Yeah.
you go with the story kind of going through passage of time. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
they're both like similar in the aspect of like, if you think of who created Facebook, you think of Mark Zuckerberg, when it's not. That's not the whole
It's-
story.
yeah.
Like, and it's the same with Apple. Who created Apple? You think of Steve Jobs. Whereas like, there's a lot of people behind the scenes that like were
Yeah.
massively influential into why we have these products, but like just aren't in the overall picture and you don't really hear of them.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
it's pretty good. Like,
Good film. What would you give it out of 10?
I give, you know what, for the piece it is, I give it like a 9 out of 10, but I wouldn't go ahead and rush back and watch it again. Like, you know, I think maybe you kind of know the story already.
Yeah.
You're kind of like, you're happy to watch it, you know. I say I come back to it after a few years or something. But
Yeah.
overall, like, yeah, 9 out of 10, like, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd be the same. I think 9 out of 10. It was just, I just love the script. I love how everyone's conversations kind of came out and how much it revealed and like kind of pulled back and everything like that. And I thought it was just directed so well as well. Like, especially like Danny Boyle. Like, when I think of Danny Boyle, I think of like Train Spotting and like mad, crazy, kind of extroverted film.
Yeah.
So I was surprised when I found out that like it was Danny Boyle that actually directed it, but it was done so well.
Yeah.
Even the way characters and everything were displayed, I thought was fantastic.
Yeah, I'd give it like a. I don't want to be too like overly critical,
Go
but
on.
like, I'd give it a like 7 out of 10. Like, it was great. It was great, but like, you know, I already have like movies in my head that are higher, but
Yeah.
also that are lower. Like, it's not so. I don't know if I'd watch it again.
Would you
Like,
Yeah.
maybe like in a year or two, I'd watch it again. You
Yeah.
know?
Would you recommend it?
I would. Yeah. Oh, definitely.
Yeah, it's definitely
Yeah.
something you have to see at least once. Like, yeah.
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 Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. I'd give it a 9 out of 10 as well. I feel like the characters were like just really well cast.
Yeah.
And I feel like it gave a good depiction of the overall story, but also like I don't know, I'm such a like detailed oriented person, so like I had like a thirst of knowledge, so like everything else, like so much more information that was left out, and I feel like it just balanced that perfectly. Like it told you more or less the main things that you needed to know, but also if you want to know more stuff, like yeah, I thought it done a good job of that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like pulled you in enough to want to know more about.
Definitely, yeah.
Sure, you went off and became like researcher for Steve.
Literally, I went down to a rabbit hole watching YouTube videos.
Like, when you were like,
Yeah.
oh, he's more kids and stuff, I was kind of like looking up stuff. I was going, Jesus, like it pulls you in to know more about
Yeah.
things. So, like, the overall point, I suppose. Like, yeah.
I
It
looked up.
takes Adam. Sorry, go on.
I looked up if he ever thanked the Apple II team or ever acknowledged them. and it said that the scene, the actual argument between him and Seth Rogen, the him and Wozniak, like, sorry, yeah, no, the one with him and Wozniak, yeah, the argument between him and Wozniak, like in the last scenes, that didn't actually happen. Like, I don't think, not in front of everyone. If it did happen,
I was like, how much of this actually happened, and how much film? And I was kind of like, Jesus, I must look that up, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
I don't think he never acknowledged the Apple II team though.
No,
he has too much of a stubborn streak.
Yeah.
I text Adam at like 2 a.m. and be like, I have to buy her book.
Yeah.
Suppose we'll wrap it up there, right?
Yeah.
Suppose we will, yeah.
And we'll come back. Who's recommending the next film? So Adam, that was your recommendation, was it?
Yeah.
So Kelly, do you want to go next?
Yes. Oh, I've seen it all. So do I pick one I haven't seen?
You don't have to.
No. I think you're better off to pick.
I've only seen this once now, buddy.
You've seen.
Okay. Beautiful Boy.
Okay.
I watched this once during the summer, lads, and it was actually unbelievable.
It's about it, yeah.
There's Steve Carell and Timothy Chalamet, and it's based on a true story. Really good.
Let's watch that. So.
Perfect.
All right.
All right. See you next week.
Guess that'll be the next one.
All right.
B.